Hi, this is Mrs. Purple. Welcome to my podcast, The Right Mind for Any Time. Here you will get the world view from my perspective. So buckle up for another episode of knowledge, wisdom, and a good time. Enjoy the show. Mrs. Purple, The Right Mind for Any Time. During the presidential election with Kamala Harris, and the thing that was going on is that the black men said they didn't like really strong black women. When I was coming up, if there was no strong black women, the family would probably be in a chaotic. Because even though my grandfather was in the house, but he took his money and he spent it the way he wanted to spend it in the street. And my mother, being the oldest child and had a job at that particular time, she was saying that my grandmother would not be without lights, she would not be without food, or she would not be without wood to burn in the heater during the time that she was working. And as I heard it when I was coming up, I said I wanted to educate myself so I wouldn't be obliged to nobody's son. Because when you sit down and hear the story from the old black women, they would say, if I didn't have these kids, I would leave this man. But as the kids got older and they got older, they never left the guy because guess what? They got old, the man got old, the kids got old. And the women, I didn't see them do too much work, and the man worked outside the household. So they never was able to leave this man. So my thing was I would just want to educate myself so when I grew up, I wouldn't have to be living that kind of miserable life saying I had to depend on somebody's son before I even was able to buy me a dress or to make a decision on buying stuff for myself. I would be more independent and dependent on myself only. But that become very intimidating to a lot of black men because they think that because women are so dependent, they don't need to depend on them. But it's all about the upbringing. If the man was in the house, sometimes they wasn't even represented in the house. They would take their money and spend it in the outside. So somebody had to come forward. Usually it ended up being the oldest daughter that come forward, which was my mother. And then you pick your behavior behind your mom behavior. That she took and paid the bill, make sure that her younger sister and brother went to school and make sure they had something to eat before they went off to school. So if the man wasn't the head of the household, if they wasn't in jail or in prison, or they was an absent person in the household, the female tended, I know in the South, the females tend to come up and take over where there was lacking a male in the household. And that may be the reason they became so dominant as a lot of black men said during the election, like black women was intimidated to them. But it's all about the upbringing in the household. And if it wasn't for the black woman taking over and doing the chore that she did in the household, the family would not have even been able to be kept together. So it was a reason for the woman being strong and dominant. Somebody had to be strong in the household. I thank you for listening to The Right Mind for Any Time. Mrs. Purple.